Oh, wow.
Hello everyone, you're very welcome to our webinar today, Postgraduate Study at the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance. My name is Una Grace, I'm Postgraduate Executive Administrator in the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences. We have quite a packed agenda today for you here. So firstly, we're going to start off with an introduction to the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance and postgraduate programmes with Professor Helen Phelan, who's the Director of the Academy here. Then we're going to move on to programme spotlights on the MA in Dance Studies with Dr. Orla Niamh and the MA Irish Music Studies with Dr. Niall Keegan. We will then follow that with an alumni panel discussion with our two lovely alumni here today, Alison Duval from the MA Irish Dance Studies and Lisa Dunn from the MA Irish Music Studies. And then we'll finish off with an audience Q&A session also. Just to note, this session will be recorded and we will also take questions throughout the session via the chat function, but your mics will be unmuted at the end in the Q&A session. So I'll pass you over there to my colleague Helen to introduce the Academy overall and the postgraduate programmes.
Thank you so much, Una, and hello, everybody. It's so lovely to be spending this time with you. As Una said, my name is Helen Phelan. I'm the director here at the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance. One of the things you'll realize over the course of this hour is how much we like talking about the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance. And so we're really, really glad to have this opportunity to just share this time with you. I'm going to tell you a small bit about the Academy, about our story so far. And I say so far because we are this year celebrating our 30th anniversary. So we're 30 years old. And then I'll tell you a small bit about the vision of the Academy, how we've developed over the last 30 years, and then hand to my colleagues to talk more specifically about some of our programs. So as I said, we're based here at the University of Limerick, which is on the banks of the most beautiful river in Ireland, the River Shannon, and our building is looking right out onto that river. And I mention the river because the mythology of the river is part of the identity and the vision of the Academy. The River Shannon is named after the Irish goddess Shona. And Shona is said to have gone on a quest, on a search for wisdom. Very appropriate to a university, I think, this search for wisdom. And she was sent to a well to find the hazelnuts of wisdom. And in finding and plucking those hazelnuts, she falls into the well and the water takes her over. And the line I like, or the version of the story I like, says that when this happens, Shona becomes her own flow. And that's an image that I really love because I think it encapsulates a lot about what we believe here, and I suppose our own values in the Academy, is that coming to the Irish World Academy is about finding your own flow, finding your own voice. And as I said, we were established 30 years ago in a green site situation, which is quite unique in Ireland. Many of the other universities in Ireland have long established performing arts or music departments. And because we were starting as a new entity, I suppose we were able to develop our own vision right from the beginning. The founder of the Academy, the performer and the composer, Micheál Ó Suilleabháin, shaped a lot of that vision in the early years of the Academy. And if I was to sum that up in a single line, it would be that the vision of the Irish World Academy is about parity of esteem for all world cultures. And I guess what we mean by that, or how that translates in action in the kind of courses we teach, is that we believe in parity of esteem for all genres. So we teach popular, classical, traditional, contemporary. We believe in parity of esteem for all kinds of performance. So even though we were originally set up as a music center, immediately the idea of trying to study music without dance appeared quite nonsensical, and dance came in very, very early into the Academy. We believe in parity of esteem for reflection and practice. So there's no hierarchy between more traditional academic scholarship or the performative element or arts practices. The two of these go hand in glove in the Academy, and practically every program from the undergraduate up to the doctoral programs will have a combination of reflection and practice. And I think finally, we believe in the parity of academic, artistic, and community investigation around the performing arts. So, you know, the Irish World Academy would not make sense without our incredible artists in residence, the Irish Chamber Orchestra. You know, I think personally one of the finest orchestras in Ireland is here in residence on our campus. We have the Liz Roach Dance Company, the Pulitzer Grammy Prize award-winning singer and vocalist and instrumentalist Rhiannon Giddens. So the artistic surround is so important to how we teach and how we create this kind of environment of exploration at the Academy. But equal to that is our commitment to our community engagement. You know, we are only as good as our communities of practice think we are. So those communities of practice range from connections we have through our programs in music therapy, music education, community music, but also communities of traditional practice, of contemporary practice who feed into, and I think we also would like to say that we feed out into those programs as well. So all of that together creates the kind of the habitat of the Irish World Academy. And I suppose the other thing, and I might finish with this, that I find helpful when I think about the Academy is the little play in the title of Irish World, because I think what happens here happens at the interface between the two of those. You know, we are interested in the Irish in the broadest sense of that term, music and dance and culture in Ireland and around the world. And we are interested in world cultures in the broadest sense of that term in and around Ireland as well. So I think that might give you just a small flavor of the way in which we like to create an environment for people like yourselves who might want to come and spend some time with us. And I'm going to finish by, as I started by saying, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary. And I thought really nothing encapsulates us better than maybe sharing with you a little bit of our opening celebrations this year. And I love this short video. I asked you if we could share it today because it gives you'll get a small flavor at the beginning of these little pop-up concerts around campus from all our lovely undergraduate students, a fabulous spectacle and procession across the bridge that spans the River Shannon and leads right into our building. And then we had a lovely series of what we call duologues, which was an invitation to a contemporary dancer to work with an Irish traditional musician, or an Irish dancer to work with a music therapist, and you'll get little flavors of those as well. So I hope that this House of Light, which is the name that we give to our building, little video will give you a small flavor of kind of day in the life of the Irish World Academy. And then I'll hand you back to Una for the next part of our webinar today. Thank you so much, everybody.
Sorry, I'm muted there. Apologies. Thanks, Helen, for that wonderful introduction there. And I think the video really encapsulates a lot of what goes on here in the Academy. So now for the next part of our agenda, I'm going to hand you over there to my two colleagues, Dr. Niall Keegan and Dr. Orla Nivreen, to spotlight their programmes there. We might start with you, Niall, on the MA Irish Music Studies there.
Okay, thanks a lot, Una. You're very welcome. Yeah, just very, very quickly to talk about the MA on Irish Music Studies and how it's structured, its history, how it engages all the worlds that Helen's talking about, the world of performance, the world of reflection, and the other practices we have here at the Academy. The program is a relatively new program in the lifespan of the Academy. Basically, it came out of the realization that we have a very well established masters in ethnomusicology and a very well established masters in traditional music performance. And I think they're run in the late teens, I think with 2017, 18, we realized we have the makings of a really, really, really good program in Irish music studies. We found that there were people who wanted to study Irish music and Irish music in its place and understand Irish music and culture with maybe an academic bent or a performative bent or a bent that brings both together. And under its own umbrella, without going through without necessarily looking for that degree in ethnomusicology. So we looked at what we had to offer, and we put together this bespoke program, which is, again, we ran it for a couple of years, and then COVID happens, which was a learning experience for all of us, and it helped us in the recent reimagination of this program enormously. But so basically, the program is structured. There are three primary strands. The first is around Irish traditional music studies. There are modules there. I should be very careful. Irish music studies. There are modules there which engage Irish music and history, and so looking at diachronically, and then modules that look at more synchronically and look at it in culture and see how it works. Now, the definition of Irish music is really, really, really problematic. When people think of Irish music, they think of traditional Irish music. They think about fiddles and pipes and diddley-eye and sean song, and that, if you want to be very, very sort of culturally essentialist, you can say that, yeah, that's what Irish music is. Which is, we respect that, but we would say that actually there's a lot more to defining what Irish music is. So in the years of Irish music studies, we've had students who they've engaged the many different aspects of Irish music culture. So we do spend a lot of time talking about traditional Irish music. We also spend time talking about popular music, and we spend time talking about classical music in Ireland. And we've had people who will do their final presentation, their final thesis, and they might do the final thesis on Donegal fiddle styles. You just heard some wonderful Donegal fiddle player in there from our colleague who teaches here, Conor Caldwell. But then some people are trying to think. In Lisa's class, we had somebody who did a project on music education in Ireland. We've had people do projects on the marching band movement in Ireland, the brass and reed band movement. So we have a very open and inclusive definition of what Irish music is. Of course, we have a lot of traditional Irish music in there. It's something we do, and it's something that reflects a lot of our practice here in the Academy. But it's not exclusive, and we're open. I look at the wonderful video that Helen said at the start, and the most of those videos have a traditional musician and a tabla player, or a traditional musician and a DJ, or a traditional musician and a contemporary dancer, and that's, you know, I think that gives you a real reflection of the potential of your engagement. Of course, you can come and be a traditional musician and play with other traditional musicians and be a Donegal traditional musician and focus on that, and that's fine too. Again, that parity of esteem, that parity of practice goes both ways. We don't just we don't put the sort of collaborative, cross and transdisciplinary things as being the ultimate output of what we do. It's just one of many different outputs, and we have to respect the content, the tradition, and everything else. So so that's how the program was worked. So that traditional music studies that the music studies, and particularly traditional music studies, is important. Then we take content from the MA in ethnomusicology. So we have a module in ethnology. We have a module in music anthropology, and that gives us some really, really solid theoretical frameworks to engage our examination of our own practices, and that's really, really important. So the ethnomusicologists and the ethnomusicology MA will do their world music surveys. You won't. If you come to study arts music studies, but you will sit into the theoretical classes with them, and you'll use those same theoretical tools in your own context and around your own practice. And that's really, really important. That engagement with the ethnomusicology and the ethnomusicologists and the ethnomusicology program is really, really important. And again, to highlight what Helen said, that parity of esteem between the reflection and the performance. Again, I think we have to be really careful, because very often people build up the reflection and performance as being the opposite ends of an axis. For us, that isn't the way that we work. That isn't the way that we think. They're integrated. They happen together. We don't have a corner of the building where people just go away and think about it, and another corner of the building where people go away and do it. We all do it, and we all do it together, and it's they work and they support and they make each other better. I don't know about you, but I usually don't want to read the book by the musicologist who can't play the music. In the same way, I mightn't often really enjoy the music of the person who's not really thinking about their practice. And most of the people I think we like listening to are people who do put a lot of deep thought and engagement into their practice. We think the two work really well together, and I think it's an important part of our mission. So performance is important. Now, in the recent reinvention of the program, we have reinvented it this year. We've built in a stream in the second semester where a student can take either an ethnomusicology module, the anthropology of music, or do a performance-focused module, and can choose there. But you can still, through the elective process, I think you can still perform, you can still do both, but we give the student the opportunity to focus on one way or the other. So it's particularly rich in that way, and it recognizes the performer and the academic. But it does reflect that we do require people who are academic to consider performance, and people who are performers to reflect. And that's really, really important. A new innovation with the program is how we deliver it. Beforehand, it was a straightforward single year. People came along for the whole year. They stayed in UL for the whole year, and then they walked out with their masters at the end of it. Now, Lisa is here. She's one of the students from the program in the COVID years, where we had the experience of running the program entirely online, which we survived. That's all I can say, really. But we learned an awful lot from it, and we learned an awful lot about alternative modes of delivery, and about alternative modes of delivery that will open doors and allow access to people who mightn't be able to be here for a full year. Everyone has lives, everyone has responsibilities. So what we've done is that we've the first semester of the MA, the autumn semester, we've presented as a standalone course, as a certificate. So students can come along, sign up for the MA, and they can leave at the end of the first semester with a certificate in Irish Music Studies, a postgraduate certificate in Irish Music Studies, and then they can rejoin in the future year and rejoin the second semester. They can do the second semester. They can either stay on for the summer semester then and get the masters, or they can leave at the end of the second semester and leave with a diploma, a postgraduate diploma in Irish Music Studies, which is worth 90 credits, and then come back in a later year and just do the top up 30 credit summer semester, and finish the masters. So it's stackable that way. You can come and go out of the course. Very, very importantly is the first semester is also, you have the opportunity of engaging that either partially or entirely online. So the very, very first semester, you can take that from New York, from Boston, from Tokyo, from Budapest, from wherever else, and not be on campus. We envisage some people will be able to engage it in a blended way. So they'll be able to be on campus for certain parts of the semester and then online for the rest of the semester. There is that sort of flexibility built into the delivery of it that is really, really important. So we're really excited about this, the way we've reimagined this MA in Irish Music Studies in a stackable format, which especially in the first semester can be delivered online in a way that suits people. The second semester, if you want to come and do the second semester and do the diploma or the MA, you need to be here. We need you to be here, especially with that performance focus. Virtual performance is not very virtuous. I'm not very fond of virtual performance, but I know it's necessary, but especially in that second semester with that potential ethos, the potential focus on performance studies, we really want our students to be here. And then the summer semester can happen anywhere. Your students can be anywhere. They're usually where they're conducting their research for their final presentation. Now, for our students, we imagine that final presentation to be everything from that traditional 20,000 word thesis, which should be what we get usually out of an Irish music studies a model, or maybe the ethnomusicology model, or they might have a performance, or they might have a mixture of both, an output which is performance and thesis. That's the reflection and the practice happening together, addressing a singular research question. And that's the exciting end of the program. That's the bit where the students really get to express themselves, their own ideas, and really start to contribute to the world of knowledge we have around this thing, whatever it is that we call Irish music studies. So I think that's it. I know Lisa will be talking about the program and her experience of it in the wonderful COVID year, and we'll take questions at the end afterwards. But I think I'll hand over to my colleague Orla.
Thank you, Niall. Now, hold on. Can we see this? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Can you see that? So yeah, so I want to talk specifically, I suppose, about postgraduate opportunities in dance here at the Irish World Academy. And yeah, so the picture painting, the 1,000 words, this is the living bridge with nobody on it. And so to figure up the possibility, and you can dance across it in a variety of styles. And if, for those of you who haven't been here, that is our beautiful building that you see up ahead there. So the programs that we have in dance are the MA Ethnochoreology, which I'm the course director for, the MA Dance Studies, which is the reimagined program that I want to focus on today. But I also want to note that we do have MAs in performance, where you have Irish traditional dance or contemporary dance, and also the option of doctoral studies, either in a structured PhD in arts practice or through the traditional research platform. And the reason I've also included these programs is that they sort of explain the evolution of the MA in dance studies, because similarly to the Irish music studies program, it sort of fell in between the performance programs and in between the ethnochoreology program. So the students who would maybe take this program will have a dance practice, and previously we had most people with an Irish dance practice. But people who did other dance genres in Ireland that were not Irish dancers were not identifying with this programme at all. So we wanted to broaden the programme to be inclusive, and I'll speak to that in a minute. So the course team around this is myself, Dr. Jenny Roach, Dr. Grant McClay, Dr. Brenda Ondegali, and of course our wonderful Academy faculty and visiting master tutors who you would encounter in different modules. So this programme was set up to cater to exponents of Irish dance, and using, again, I suppose people weren't understanding Irish dance or dance in Ireland in its broad context. And even though, as Helen said, we do have that very broad respect for all iterations of dance in Ireland or Irish dance, we felt we needed to name, because we had people who weren't feeling that there was a place for them on the programme. So this new MA Dance Studies will allow us to welcome Irish dancers, ballet dancers, contemporary dancers, dancers from other traditional dance forms onto the programme, the way it is structured. And we would envisage that this cohort would already maybe have performance experience, but maybe be more interested in engaging with it from the point of view of not just honing their practice, but reflecting on it. Because a lot of dance teachers or a lot of dance professionals can't leave their practice and take it with them, because they may be teaching and they won't want to give it up for an entire year. So with this flexibility in mind, I suppose there are two options for the delivery. It's one program, MA Dance Studies, but there are two delivery options. Either you can do it by distance, and this, I suppose, comes up again from the learning that we took during COVID, and maybe turned it hopefully into some sort of an advantage. Or for the people who would prefer to come and experience it on campus, they can also take the programme when we've modified some of the content accordingly. So it is a year-long program. Semester 1 with the autumn 30 credits, semester 2 with the spring 30 credits, and then the semester 3 is the final presentation one. So there are a couple of options here. As it can be taken by distance, you don't ever have to come here at all, and you can do it from Australia if you want to in your own time, because the materials will be posted up online, and we will do videos. We've developed a variety of strategies, and maybe Alison can speak to this later, for delivering some of the practical classes online. So re-embodying, disembodying and discombobulating dance experiences, or of course the traditional in-person delivery on campus is also an option. So the core modules then would be repertoire and style and dance performance. So that would depend on if you were an Irish dancer. Obviously you'd be coming to that with a background in Irish dance, but you might also maybe look at ballet in Ireland. Not that you're going to be a ballet dancer, but that you could maybe look at some of the ballet repertoire. Then we have a dance ethnography, 6 credits. We have introduction to fieldwork, because as Niall says, we do envisage that people will want to look at their particular dance form critically and maybe conduct some research. And we also have an introduction to ritual studies, which is a 3 credit across many of our shared modules. And I think, Alison, this may be something that you might also want to speak to, because I know that helped you frame your own research when you were here. And then we have 2 elective options. So one of the other things is that we've designed the programs in such a way that, yes, there are core modules, but there is enough choice in it so that people can sort of design their own way through the journey, depending on what they particularly want to concentrate on. So then in the spring semester, you only have 2 core modules, and they're both 2 big 12-credit modules. One is the repertoire and style 2, and then the second one is the contextualizing dance performance. Because one of the things that we want to do is that we want to situate whatever your practice is in time, in space, in the context of where it's happening, why it's happening, how it's happening, so that people will go out as advanced dance scholars also in that particular way. But again, you have 2 elective options here. So if you really want to lean more to performance, you can take some performance modules, or if you would rather specialize, make and take a dance pedagogy module or a dance and health module, those are also elective options that you have. So here are just some, and this will give you the range. Because we wanted to be as inclusive as possible, and we've opened this up to dancers from other cultures, we have an academic literacies module, which is compulsory, depending for people that would maybe require English language supports. And then all of the other electives people can choose based on what area interests them most. So we have media tech, for example. We have an independent study where you can do anything. And we had a student who did embroidery. I absolutely did not teach that, but she did crochet and Irish design because she wanted to look at emblems of Ireland, for example. So everybody does bring their own wish list to this. We have critical engagements with Irish music, because obviously we want our students here to experience the fullness of culture and of the sound and movement in a sort of a choreo-musicological way. And then we have kind of more vocational modules like dance and health, dance pedagogy and dance studies for people who maybe would like to focus on that in terms of the education that they're maybe interested in getting. They may have been teaching dance all their lives. They may have toured professionally, but they may not have a qualification, a recognised qualification. And this will draw people as well to the programme, as well as a natural curiosity. So as you can see, we have a whole suite of elective options, and we would guide people through that depending on what it was that they were interested in finding out. And then your summer semester, you have every programme in the academy has a final semester where there's a final presentation of a dissertation, or depending on the choices that you've made during the programme, you can do a combination of performance and a 10,000 word accompanying a contextual document. So you can see there's a lot of flexibility built into it. You do have to complete it all in the 1 year, except there is the possibility that if you decide not to do the summer semester, you can graduate with the postgraduate diploma. So that's a whistle-stop tour through it. I'll stop sharing now. And I hope that gives you a sort of an aperçu. So it's really for inclusivity. We wanted to include more dancers. We want to shine a light on the fact that we do all kinds of dance here. And really, we discovered we were actually excluding our ballet and contemporary dancers from this option of studies. So we have broadened it, not to take out the Irish dancers, but to add to the choice range of people, literally, that will be in the room, whether it's virtual or actual. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Orla, and indeed, Niall, for your overviews there on your disciplines and indeed your programs as well. It's really great to get an insight into the academic content. So just to move on to our alumni panel discussion part of this webinar, I want to introduce our two alumni, which we're very grateful they came here today to give their insights into their programs. So firstly, we've Alison Duval from the MA Irish Dance Studies and Lisa Dunn from the MA Irish Music Studies programs. So just to introduce Alison Duval graduated with a first class honours from the MA Irish Dance Studies program in early 2022, and she's owner and director of the Kentucky branch of the MacTaggart Irish Dancers. And she's also passed her TCRG Teachers Certification exam with An Comisiún Lerinci Gaeilge in 2013. And in addition to all that work, she also is a senior manager for church and community engagement for the Episcopal Migration Ministries, which is one of 10 refugee resettlement agencies in the United States. And we also have Lisa Dunn here, a graduate of the MA Irish Music Studies, and she is a musician who performs both Western art music and Irish traditional music. And is a graduate of the MA Irish Music Studies, as I've just said, with an emphasis on the Irish harp, where she graduated with a first class honours degree also. And during this time, her research thesis focused on the ornamentation of Irish traditional harper Moira Ní Cahasig, and she is currently a PhD candidate pursuing her doctorate in Irish Music Studies. And she also holds a Bachelor and Master of Music in Piano Performance from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, where she currently resides. And she's currently an adjunct instructor of music at Pellissippi, sorry if I'm massacring that name, State College, where she teaches Intro to Music, Irish Music Studies and private lessons. You might correct me there, Lisa. And she's also an active performer and teacher also as well. So thank you very much for coming and joining us today. So I just want to ask initially why you chose to do your chosen masters at UL and in the Academy also. I might start with you, Alison, first.
Sure.
Okay.
And Lisa, we're just 2 hours away from each other. I'm in Lexington, Kentucky, so we'll have to meet up, have a little UL alumni coffee date. So I chose to do this as an Irish dancer. I've known about the Irish World Academy for many years because the Irish World Academy has done a really good job of sharing its programs with the Irish dancing community globally. So I knew about it and always dreamed of doing one of the programs at the Irish World Academy, but could never give up running my dance school. So COVID had silver linings, and the silver lining for me was that at the time, it was the MA Irish Dance Studies program was moved fully virtual. So my cohort had a dancer from Brazil, a dancer who is Hungarian by birth, living in Germany, some other American Irish dancers and teachers. And it was just a dream come true to be able to do the program. One of the main reasons I desired to do it was because I loved school. I studied religion as an undergraduate, and returning to the academic world, but bringing with it my dancing just felt like a match made in heaven and a dream come true. So that's what made me desire to pursue it. And again, COVID had some silver linings. And I'm delighted to hear that the program has been re-envisaged so that there can be more students who do this academic work from their own remote locations if they need to.
Very good. And why did you choose it, your program, the MA Irish Music Studies, Lisa?
Yes, along with Alison, I did mine during COVID. So unfortunately, there was a silver lining to COVID, and that was the fact that we got to go to school again and to attend this university, because I probably would not have had the chance if it wasn't because of COVID. So I felt very fortunate. I just happened to run upon this advertisement on social media that University of Limerick was offering these online courses and degrees. And so I talked to my teacher, Moira Ní Cahasig, and she was so excited about it. And she knew some of the faculty and said it was just a wonderful place and thought that would be a perfect place for me. So I was very excited about that. So that is why I chose to go back. Mm-hmm.
That's great. And just to ask what you enjoyed most about your programs, what were the elements that you found most inspiring or kind of enhancing to your own kind of knowledge and practice as well?
Sure. So I loved getting to know the other students in my class. As I mentioned, Hungarian living in Germany and a Brazilian dancer as well. And then friends from the United States that I'd known just as a dancer growing up, competing in Irish dance. Um, during COVID, I think we all had to figure out how to create community together. And I know community is created very naturally and fluidly at the Academy. I've gotten to visit the Academy and be in the beautiful building and see the mural and the mosaic. So I also feel a connection to the place, even though I wasn't on campus for my program. But building community with other dancers and thinkers who wanted to reflect on their practice and be in community together was very special. Also for me, carving out that space, we were all trying to figure out how to create routines and rituals in our lives during a pandemic. So carving out space in my life for study and for reading and reflection and writing was just very special. And it felt like creating a sacred space within, I was never leaving my house, but I created kind of sacred time for myself that was for my UL work. So yeah, that's what I very much enjoyed.
And how about you, Lisa?
Well, what I enjoyed the most, I think, is because the program was so small. Because I felt like we got a lot of individual attention. From the faculty was just wonderful. Their knowledge was so impressive, and their willingness to spend time with us and to meet with us whenever we needed it was just really made the Academy worth it to me. I felt a very special bond with all those that I went to school with, and I had a very nice colleague who would actually have us meet once a week, and so we would meet together and chat. And so we formed a special bond and a special community during this time, and we still, meet regularly, which is really nice. And it's nice because I made friends with so many different countries, such as I have friends now in Italy and Switzerland and Ireland, and just so many other countries, made it very well diverse.
And it's interesting you both did your courses during COVID, and you still had that sense of community and that sense of support. And I suppose I have a question around that in terms of what kind of supports are available to students during their time, both academically and otherwise. You might speak to that a bit. You've both kind of touched on it already, but you might elaborate a bit.
I'll do my best. I can't remember the name of it wasn't the student council, but it was something like that for the postgraduate students in the Irish World Academy. And I think I was nominated to be the representative for my program. So it was really nice to get to know students and their elected representatives from across the different programs at the Academy. Also, the Postgraduate Students Union, if that's the right name, also had a lot of wonderful events that were virtual during COVID. I know that they're happening on campus at all times now. But there was just a lot of energy, I think, from the student body into trying to create opportunities to get to know one another, to support one another, just to have space with one another, both socially as well as like study groups. It was just really wonderful that there's a lot of interest, I think, amongst the students to be supportive to one another. And I know that that's still happening on campus as much as it did during COVID.
And do you find the academic support is strong as well? I would imagine so, given the type of programs that you studied as well. But how did you find that in terms of interacting with your tutors and your lecturers on the programs as well? Maybe Lisa, you might speak to that.
Yes, I think that was one of the strongest points there. Was about supports was my academic advisor. It was Dr. Sandra Joyce, and she was absolutely amazing. She would just answer any questions I had and meet with me anytime she could. So she was my main support, and I was very honored to have her. I also used the Writing Academy. That was very important to me, the Writing Center. They would have free classes maybe once a week or even more often than that. So that was something very important that I felt like I wanted to take advantage of. So that was the main things that I thought was very important. Mm-hmm.
That's great. And just to just your own personal motivations for doing the program and what you gained after graduating as well. Well, how do you think the MA has enhanced what you're doing currently, and how has it changed your thinking? You mentioned the community that you engaged with and the academic support, but how do you feel the both those master's programs that you completed influenced your current work as well? now?
So it influences my work running my dance school every single day. It really allowed me to, I don't know how to say it, but to bring more of the history of the Irish dance tradition into the classroom. So I'm very intentional about wanting to connect what my students are learning through the dance steps to where it came from, the heritage of the material. I also care a lot about ensuring my students understand that Irish dancing is quite diverse. I really appreciated Niall's statement earlier about like what even is Irish music? How do we even start to define these terms? One of my students is on the webinar listening, and I think knows well that I care a lot about challenging my students to think in new ways about what actually is Irish dancing and how do we connect our practice to the community that we live in and dance with. And then also, how do we broaden our practice outside of the competitive idiom, which is so strong in the Irish dance community, and think about it in terms of its community expressions, where it grew from, where it's going. So yeah, I'm always challenging my students to think in new ways, and I credit that ability to challenge them to the academy.
And that's great. You kind of had that transformative experience, and it's enhancing your own knowledge and practice as well. And how about you, Lisa? How do you feel it's influenced your current thinking or your current knowledge as well, I suppose?
Well, I was already an adjunct faculty at this Pellissippi College, and so now it's allowed me to teach Irish music studies courses now at the college. So that influences the community and broadens their horizon about Irish music. It's also let me maybe start ensemble music at the college, so Irish music ensemble and private lessons in Irish music. So it's really broadened that at the college. So I'm very excited about all the new programs we're going to be able to start. And I also think that I wouldn't be starting my PhD here if I had not done the master's. So I'm very excited about this new program, the PhD program, and it's just another stepping stone from the master's that I received from there.
That's amazing. You've really, you're spreading the word, or spreading the learnings that you've picked up in the academy as well, which is great. So just finally, I want to give some time for questions for the audience here as well. They say hindsight is 20/20, but what advice would you give to your younger self in either your academic or professional life with regard to firstly completing the master's, and then your kind of careers post-graduation and so on as well? Do you have any advice to anyone on the call here that you think might be useful?
Sure, and I'll give the advice I would give my younger self, but I do so with a bit of trepidation because it's the advice I should take now. Orla has been such a support to encouraging me to look at pursuing the PhD. So my advice to my younger self would be just go for it. Why wait? And I think I had a lot of hangups or misgivings or self-doubts that held me back from pursuing the program earlier in my life. I'm really glad I did it. And I guess this means, Orla, we might be talking. Just do it.
That's great. And it's good advice for anything. Don't overthink. Just go and do something if you're passionate about it, definitely. How about you, Lisa? Do you have any advice for your younger self, or any people thinking of pursuing Irish music studies and so on?
I think just focus on one step at a time as you go along. It's easy to get overwhelmed, when you see all this information and all these classes and all the work. And I think if you do one thing at a time and conquer that you'll get through it, and just manage your time wisely. That was very important also.
Absolutely. Both great advice. And thank you so much, Alison and Lisa, for giving up your time. And I know you're in a different time zone, so we really do appreciate you coming on the call today and giving up your time. So I just open the questions there for, or the mics are unmuted actually for questions from our audience. I don't see anything currently in the chat, but please do feel free to either unmute your mic and speak, or else pop questions into the chat. I might just pose a question to our members of faculty here. Just in terms of applying to any of our postgraduate programs, have you any advice with regard to what to include in the application? And for those programs that do require auditions and interviews and so forth, is there anything that you would advise prospective students with regard to that as well? I don't know who wants to take that firstly, or maybe Helen or Niall.
Sure. I'll jump in there, Una, and I'll hand on to Niall then as well. I mean, the two things that come to my mind, it's a little bit like the advice from Lisa and Alison. It's like, don't wait. because, you know, there is a process here. Sometimes people have to apply for a visa. Sometimes it can take a little bit of time. We audition and interview for all our programs, because really important for us that we have a chance to meet you, talk with you, listen to your music, watch your dance, and as much to see, you know, are you right for the program, but also is the program right for you? So that's really important for us. So I'd say don't delay, apply early, get your material in, and give yourself that time to make those relationships and talk to people like we're doing today. You know, drop an email or something to the course director of the program you're interested in, or myself, and say, look, I'd love a chat online or in person, and, you know, get to know the environment as much as the program, because I think the two of those are part of the experience of studying here. Niall, did you want to come in there as well?
Yeah, just to emphasize that in the Irish World Academy, more than any other unit I've experienced of, you know, we deal with the individual applicants. You're not a number. I mean, I've never known the student numbers of my postgraduate students or my undergraduate students for that matter, but we look at the individual application, and we very often have applications and people think, oh, I don't have the qualification, I don't have what's needed to do that. We do accept people under what the university calls RPL, Recognized Prior Learning. And so we do have people come to us with alternative qualifications, with a lifetime of professional experience in the performing or the engagement with traditional music culture or music culture or a performance. And we look at each individual individually, and we make sure that, you know, the program is right for them and they're right for the program, and we do that on a one-on-one basis. So we don't look for you must have a degree in music. That's a common thing that I'd find is when people say, oh, I can't come to study Irish music studies because I haven't got an undergraduate degree in music. We have people with undergraduate degrees in accountancy, in physics, who will be performers, who will have engaged, who will come to us and study Irish music studies, and that's fine as long as the program is right for you and you're right for the program. And I mean, any degrees in the show that you have a degree of reflection and engagement, so that we're going to welcome your other knowledge into the academy, because that makes it a richer place.
Yeah, and just to, as an addendum to that, I think following on what you said there about picking the right program, because there are so many choices, it's really worth chatting to somebody before you just randomly send off an application, so that we can help give you guidance on because it really will depend on what you're looking for as well. Some people are looking for a break away from their life as a doctor so that they can play their guitar. I mean, these things have really happened, and more people are thinking, actually, you know, all my life has been about this, and now I want to get a qualification for it. So if we have those conversations in advance, it's much easier for us to manage expectations and also to tailor assignments that will be useful to the needs of the students. So I think, you know, we really do, it's never the same. The program is never the same, because every year it's co-created with the needs of the students who are on it in mind. And that's really, you know, it's a lot of work, but that's really exciting. So we have a bucket, we do have a syllabus, but as you can see with the choices, everything is possible, so always ask. No question is foolish. The only question that's foolish is the one that we don't ask, I would say. And I think we all agree there, any faculty member here, even if they'll find you the person who can get you the answer, even if that's not them. I think you can probably feel that even from the webinar. People genuinely will reach out and help.
Thanks, guys. I think that's really useful advice, and definitely to speak to someone before you apply as well is great, just so that people understand the program and that sort of thing as well. I don't see any more questions currently at the moment. Maybe, Helen, you might just speak to the facilities available in the academy as well, just to give our students an insight. I know we would have viewed them on the video there at the start of the webinar, but just to give people an insight onto the wonderful facilities that are on offer in the academy building.
I'd be delighted to do that, Una. And I think something that both Lisa and Alison, you highlighted so well, that is that we are also at a moment of change right now. You know, this post-COVID world where all of us have been trying to figure out, you know, what does it mean to play music or to dance? And so a lot of what we do resides, as Una was saying, in this extraordinary physical space around us. And you saw the beautiful photo that Orla shared of, you know, you're crossing the bridge into the building. the magnificent Shona mosaic there in the foyer. We've got 2 theater spaces, which are, you know, fairly exclusively for the use of our students, although, you know, we interact with a lot of events around campus, but, you know, we have a lovely kind of 200-seater theater and a very intimate, what we call tower theater, which is about 80-seater free seating tower space in the round, which is beautiful for acoustic performances. We have, I think, 2 of the largest dance studios in Ireland, in the back of the building, looking over the Clare Hills rather than the river. And we have a whole floor of small kind of tutorial rooms that are very much dedicated to the one-on-one tuition, the small group, the practical lessons. You know, in the vast majority of our courses, you'll work one-on-one with a variety of tutors. Some of them, you know, core faculty here in the academy. But every year we have a whole host of invited professional performers, musicians, dancers who come and teach the students as well. We have a music lab in the building also. We have a small recording studio for the songwriting program. So all of that is physically available to somebody coming here. But one of the things, maybe just to finish, is that I'd really highlight is that both Orla and Niall have also spent a lot of time in reimagining these programs to think about how we can share that sense of the physical surround in a virtual space as well. So, and we've learned a lot from people like Lisa and Alison, and I loved what you said earlier about the sense of community. So I'd like to suggest that the kind of spaces that we offer are also in that virtual realm. A lot of our modules are blended, so a mixture of teaching here on campus or online, and particularly the 2 programs that have been the spotlight has been on today have really been the kind of pioneering programs in the academy to think about this new space, this space of kind of mixed delivery to I guess meet the new realities of people's lives. So I guess that sense that we have a physical and a virtual world, and like I loved what Niall said earlier, we don't see these as 2 different things. They're 2 parts of the same relationship and the same space.
So we have 2 questions here. I might take the first one actually just on, Joanna just has a question there for on-campus study. Is there student housing? Yes, we do have some student accommodation available. Just to note that it is in quite high demand. So if you are thinking of applying for student accommodation, to apply early. And also there is off-campus accommodation, but it is quite competitive at the moment. So for any non-EU or students that are coming from outside of Ireland, I would advise that you do look early for accommodation if you are coming next year for next year's intake. And just a second question there, just on the MA in songwriting. Would it be possible to give any insight into the songwriting MA? Also, as someone who's not Irish and not interested in specifically Irish music, is there still a space, professors, for pop performance or other genres? I would say yes, but I might get Helen to speak to that potentially as well. Just I know it's open to a variety of genres, but you might speak to that, Helen, a bit more.
Yeah, that's correct, Una, and absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that question, because even though we are highlighting these 2 particular programs today, because I guess a lot of our other programs are learning from some of the innovations that these two programs are investigating at the moment. There are many programs in the academy who look, as Niall was saying earlier, you know, music and dance in the broadest sense. So the songwriting program would be a great example of that. Most of the people who apply for that program are already, you know, working or, you know, or in their attics at home writing songs, making music from pop music, hip hop backgrounds, rock backgrounds, ballad backgrounds, and some singer-songwriters who might come from a more classical background. So again, the nature of that program, like most of our programs, is, and I think Orla, you were saying this earlier, we look at the student body that comes into us. We look at their interests and their specializations, and then we begin to build a team of tutors around them. So we in that way, we can adapt the programs to the needs and the interests of the students. So a direct answer to your question is no, you don't have to be looking particularly at Irish traditional music or Irish traditional dance to look at these programs, to register for any of those other programs like songwriting. But you have the opportunity, if you wish, we have independent study modules where you might say, well, I'm in Ireland, maybe I'll try and do a little bit of, you know, traditional fiddle or traditional, if you wish, but of course you don't have to do that either.
So we have someone with their hand up there, and we've Joanna again. I'm interested in 3 different singing related programs and finding it hard to decide. I think that's a dilemma for a lot of postgraduate students or prospective postgraduate students. Is it possible to weave together several programs for an MA? Yeah, I think it's to know what you're actually interested in would be helpful, Joanna. But I suppose there is a lot of crossover between different programs as well. So maybe yourself, Helen, might want to speak to that, or Niall.
I'd love to hop in on that one, and I'll be brief because singing is my own passion, and I'm part of I lead up something called the Singing and Social Inclusion Unit. To answer your question briefly, it is important, as Una was saying, to say, you know, what is the primary engagement I want to have, because that course is likely to be the best vehicle. But through that, you've got lots of options to include elements of the other programs. So I used to direct the Ritual Chant and Song program, and a lot of our students would also be interested in Irish singing. So we would put them into electives where they could do sean-nós, or they could do Irish religious song, or vice versa. Sometimes some of the people on the Irish singing program might be interested in looking at some of the songwriting. So the electives are really, or the independent study, are excellent vehicles for doing that.
We have a hand up there, Kira, I think. Kira, you might unmute there if you want to speak.
Hi, thank you. And thank you all so much for your time today. I had a question specifically about the performance programs and kind of if there's a baseline level of experience, specifically kind of professional performance experience that you're looking for from prospective students coming in. For context, I studied classical music in undergrad and have spent more years in that, but am hoping to kind of pivot towards more traditional Irish music performance, and am wondering what you're looking for in terms of professional practical experience when looking at these programs.
Shall I speak to that, Helen?
Yeah, great, Niall.
Yeah, this is a common issue. We often have people who come to engage our performance programs from other traditions who might engage something else, and for every program to a certain extent, it's different. It is different for songwriters, for traditional musicians, as for Irish dancers. I know as somebody who has, I'm not the current course director for the MA in Traditional Music Performance. That's my colleague here, Conor Caldwell. But we would often have applications from people who would be coming from a classical music background, or maybe a bluegrass background, or maybe a Cape Breton or a Scottish fiddling background. What we look for, you look for those people to basically to show excellence in their own genre, but also show an engagement with an Irish genre to some extent. I mean, for me, if you're coming as a classical musician who wants to do the MA in Traditional Music Performance, I don't know what your instrument is, so say you're a fiddle player, I'm going to say, well, listen, play me a reel and tell me how you play and how you learn, and just to make sure that it's a right fit. The last thing we want to do is to bring somebody onto a program they could fail. And we do look, the important standards for us are those standards at the end of the program, the output, the standards there. And if we want to assess people and how they can realistically get to those sort of standards when they get to those exit points. So it's a common question. It's really, really hard to define. We're looking for some level of engagement, some level of performance experience. We're not looking for perfection. We're not looking for everyone to be a genius before they come to us. But we do want to see some sort of engagement and see the potential for successful engagement with the program. I don't know if that's answered your question.
Yes, I think it has. Thank you. It sounds like you're not looking for anything in particular on paper, and more going back to that individuality question, which I think is really what I was getting at. So thank you for elaborating.
No, absolutely. Again, we take each application as it is. And again, coming from a traditional music background, there aren't so many institutions in this world that award pieces of paper for people for being traditional musicians. And the same for songwriting, and same for ritual chant and song. So we do look at each individual and each application individually. And again, when you come to audition for me, I'm more interested, can you play, than rather did you get a 2-2 or a 2-1 or a first class honours in your musicology degree.
So we have another question there on the MA in songwriting. Is it possible for me to get guidance on recording and mixing? I'm eager to gain some valuable practical experience in recording in the studio. I believe they do touch on production and arranging and that sort of thing, and even touch on copyright and publishing as well in that program. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, Helen.
Yeah, I can, or I can.
Also.
I'm just looking at the questions there just to
Yeah.
also, I don't know, Niall, if you want to come in on that one, and there's one on music therapy, I think, or if you want to take that, or I can follow up as well.
Yeah, we have a wonderful technical team,
Yeah.
and we have some wonderful technical resources here. We have a number of different spaces that are set up where students record us, particularly in the MA songwriting class. They do a lot of work in the studios, so we've bespoke spaces set up for that, and nearly all of our rooms can be set up for some type of recording or that sort of engagement. It's an important part of, I think, for most of our performance programs, and students always have the opportunity. There are modules in that sort of technical engagement. There are modules in looking at those business skills, looking at those issues of copyrights and intellectual rights that are really, really important to a contemporary musician. So no, we do focus on those sort of very real life practical things. And of course, the performance lives of most traditional musicians, or any musicians, isn't just about making the audio recording anymore. It's about those online engagements and making those videos, and developing that well. And we spend a lot of time with students working on that in their own context.
Yeah, and just in relation to the music therapy one, I think from past feedback, I've heard people say that it's useful to think about their keyboard and or guitar, ukulele skills in terms of the improvisation, because that's really important. I would also, I think the listening skills are really important for that, from the work that I've done with music therapists, because nobody's expecting you to be a qualified music therapist coming into the program, but at the same time to show that you are willing to wait and to listen and to make music softly with people. I think that kind of musical empathy is really important there. But I would also say maybe to check out some of our alumni, because a lot of them are practicing music therapists throughout the country, and they would be the best people to talk to, because they, and I think that's interesting with what Lisa and Alison have had to say today, because we know what we think we do, but the students who encounter it know how they actually experience it. And I think that voice can be very, very helpful. So I'm sure that Hilary or Trina would put you in touch with some of their alumni, or maybe their current PhD students, because they would be able to give you a different take maybe on how you might be able to prepare for it. But I would definitely think about my keyboard and or what other accompaniment skills I have, because I think for the improvisation and the music making, that's really important.
Yeah, from my experience of the music therapy program, there are 3 different stages in the audition process, in the interview audition process. There is an audition, and they do focus on those improvisatory skills. They like that, because you might end up in a music therapy context. You're very often thinking on your feet, making up that hello song, engaging with different clients in different contexts. So it's that's really important. Secondly, there's an interview. And the third section that I think maybe we should have for more of our programs is a psychological assessment. I think they still do the thing where they have a therapist comes in and talks to the students and work out why they're doing it. I don't think any of our other programs, Helen, have that yet.
We don't, Niall. But I mean, I suppose, as Niall was saying, each program is a little bit individual. So, some of the programs will need Garda vetting, for example, if you're working with young children or with vulnerable groups. But, each program has slightly different nuances in the audition process. But generally speaking, we like to meet you. We like to talk to you. We like to hear you make music or see you dance. And I think that's really important. And I think in that space, a lot of these particular questions get answered. So it's a really good space to bring those questions to as well.
That's great. I don't see any more questions there at the moment, Helen, from the chat, or any hands up. But I think it's been really comprehensive, actually. And thanks so much to our alumni also for coming as well. I think you've given a great overview your programs, and also to our faculty here. They've really given great detail on what we do here in the Academy and the postgraduate programs we have on offer. I might just put a few details in the chat before I leave for anyone who wants to contact us directly. I'll put my own email for any queries regarding applications, and I think there is a general email as well, isn't there, Helen? The Irish World Academy @ul.ie as well. So
right.
I'll put that in as well.
Programs. Yeah, thanks, Una.
Yeah, that's great. And thanks so much to everyone for taking the time to come on the call here today. And thank you for your engagement and questions, and best of luck if you are thinking of applying or have applied already to our programs here in the Academy. So I think we might leave it there. Thanks everyone, and have a lovely rest of day there.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.